Good evening, everyone. We thank you for joining us, and we have with us on Church Love. We have the young couple of Elder and Sister Middleton. We're going to be meeting with them, talking with them tonight about love and marriage, and see what God has in store for us. Elder and Sister Middleton, can you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, well, I am Elder Middleton, Reginald Middleton, um, born in Mississippi, Gulfport, Mississippi. Happy to be on today here in Birmingham now, Birmingham, Alabama. It's our new home with my wife. She'll introduce herself.
Hey, everybody. Praise the
Mhm.
Lord. I'm Erica Middleton. I am originally from California, the San Francisco Bay Area, which is in Northern California. I went to undergrad in Alabama, and then I did grad school in Washington, D.C. So everywhere. And then back in Alabama now, as he mentioned. And we've been here for 3 years, and we're just looking forward to whatever God has in store for our future. So
All right. Let's get it up. So we have here. What was your life like, Elder Middleton? What was your life like before you got married? I know you were lost and wandering in space, but tell us a little about it.
But I was free. I was just free. No, well, life was, I mean, it was just the typical single life, you know. Um, I was, I was single, but I was surrounded by family quite a bit. Came from a large family. My immediate family, my mom and dad, they only had two children. I was the firstborn. Was holding it down for 12 years until I found out that my mom was diagnosed with my little sister. Uh, but my mom's parents, Bishop and Mother Tate, they had seven children. Uh,
Mm.
it was a lot of us. I mean, everything was together. We all did everything together. You know, dinner, everything. So it was quite great. Of course, it was surrounded by just we were always in church. So yeah, I had time to think about wanting to get married and everything,
Mhm.
but that single life, I was kept busy traveling, helping my grandfather and
Okay.
pastoring, and met a lot of people, and I'm just kind of following what God would have for me until it was the same people who reared me and preached to me and told me to live saved and sanctified. Then they're the same ones, my grandfather and my grandmother, that told me, hey, you need to get slow down, and it's time for you to find a wife.
Oh yeah, it's time.
This
It's time.
time, this time, yeah.
All right. And Sister Middleton, what was life like before you got married? I know you were traipsing all over the world, seeing the moon, seeing the stars, and you found it.
something like that. But it was very structured
Hmm. Okay.
because I was in school and I did a lot of years of schooling. And I would say that my life was very planned out for me. So I knew what was coming, like, out, year after year. I knew what the next step was. So everything was literally laid out. And that was decided like from high school. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do, the path that I wanted to take. And when I got to the end of that journey, that's when we met. So it was very just very well planned out, I guess, just by the grace of God. And I would also say it was spontaneous. I had and have lots of friends and met amazing people, and I had the opportunity to travel and just meet new people and go new places very often, um,
Mm.
which is kind of how our paths crossed. So I would say it was exciting. It was just, I mean, I feel like I lived it up and I enjoyed that season. Um,
I
oh,
hope you're living it up
oh,
now.
yeah,
She's already starting.
well,
I'm out.
exactly. But yeah, of course, marriage was something that I desired, and so yeah, God worked it out very well. And but I would say that it's kind of similar to how life is now. Um, but just with a little bit more, some modifications, I guess, because obviously there's another person involved. But just, I guess for me, a priority is just like kind of staying true to like who I am, and, you know, in both of us individually staying true to who we are. And I feel like we try to keep that in mind. Yeah.
All right, you know, I heard it, Elder. She said I was on a mountaintop, then I got married, and, you know.
Right, and now she down in the valley.
I began my dissension.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you later about how great this is.
Yeah.
All right. So, with that, next question want to be, this is the question that I want to know. I got to know. Mm-hmm. You talked about your past you had before. You talked about the lives. But how did y'all meet? Was it like two ships passing in the night? You know?
Oh, no, because she was on the mountaintop. I was living it up. I'm just, you know. But you want to go first?
You go. I'll interject as needed.
She always does.
Well, Elder, you tell your story, then we'll get her story next.
That's right, absolutely. So it was interesting in how we met. We just to go ahead and put it out there, we met through the power of social media. Go ahead.
Okay. So we were friends on social media. I don't know how we became friends, but we were, and we didn't like necessarily interact or engage until some time had elapsed.
So what really happened is that she caught my eye on social media because we had some mutual friends. And so I was like, oh, this young lady seems to be pretty interesting. And, you know, she just looked like my type. And so as they used to say, you know, I decided to shoot my shot. And I went into, you know, Messenger, and I just messaged her and was like, you know, hey, how are you? Or, you know, something to that effect. And she didn't respond. She friended me, but she did not respond. 1 month went by, 2 months, a full year went by, and she never responded to me. Never did. I kind of followed her without being awkward and stalking or anything like that. But, you know, just kind of followed her a little bit and was like checking in to see what was going on. And lo and behold, one day I'm just on Facebook just because, and I see that she's attending or is going to a convention. And the convention was like one city over from where I live. I mean, we're like next door neighbors. I mean, Gulfport, she was going to be in Biloxi. And I was like, oh, she's going to be here. You know, that's just amazing. And so I said, well, maybe I'll just reach out to her again and just kind of see, you know, what's up. And so I hit her up on Messenger, and I said, hey, you're in my city. You know, and you're at a convention. I'm going to be there as well, because I did plan. I wasn't stalking her. I did plan to go to this church convention that she was already attending. So
yeah. And kind of backing up a little bit, when he messaged me, like, you know, I knew that we had mutual friends, but I didn't know him personally. So I wasn't really pressed to respond. And so I was like, I don't know who this is. So I thought it was just a stranger, you know, and so I was like, okay. And I forgot about it. And I think he had messaged again or something like Merry Christmas. And I was like, okay.
Now, wait a minute. I don't remember that.
That's nice. we can include a screenshot. In the comment section. But, and so I was in DC, as I mentioned, in grad school, and a young lady who had moved from Mississippi came to school at the same school that I was attending. And so she invited me to her home church to visit, you know, meet her family and go to their church convention. So it just so happened that when I went home with her to visit her home church, it was in the same, you know, the neighboring city as him. And so when I guess he saw, and I had posted that I was on my way, And he reached out and was like, hey, you're going to be like in my town or whatever. And so my thought was, okay, well, if I run into him, it might be kind of awkward that I haven't responded. So maybe I should respond so that it's not, that moment of kind of awkward, that's when you see someone, you're like, okay, like I know that they've been. And so I responded, I was like, oh yeah, like I'll be there. And so I think we had like made plans to meet or something. And when we got to the church, I mean, you can't miss him. So he was at the front showing out, like right up in the front and center, dead center. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so listen, I had home court advantage. Now she said she didn't know me, but it was like in the South, it was like, you mean you don't know the Reginald Middleton? I'm just playing. But this was a convention. I knew everybody there or whatever. And yeah, I'll be honest, I was trying to kind of, because I wanted to make sure I didn't know where she was in the church. But I wanted her to also know, it's been a whole year and you've been missing out on this guy here that, so I come in a little bit late, and when I first hit the door, the ushers are there, everybody's there, they escort me straight to the front because, this is Elder Middleton, so I come in and I, right there sitting by all the other elders and everything. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I hope she's seeing this. I hope she's seeing this.
I saw it, all right.
So I just do my thing. I'm in church. I'm churchy. I just do my thing while we're at the convention. I never did see her. Mm-hmm. I was, I don't know if an offering was taken or anything like that, because I was thinking, well, maybe I'll see her walking around, or whatever. But I never did see her. And I was like, wait a minute. I know she didn't chicken out and not come or whatever. But it was so many people there. I knew that she was somewhere around. So after the service, I'm strategically, just talking to people. I don't want to be like looking around saying, hey, where she's at. So I'm strategically talking to people, just interacting, fellowshipping. I know this bishop, I know that bishop. I'm still hoping she's looking at me, and I'm not acting like I'm trying to find her. So, so I'm just talking. And so, about 10, 15 minutes pass and I still don't see her. So I decide to just go ahead and kind of walk out. I said, well, maybe she's out in the foyer or something like that. And maybe I'll see her there. Speaking to a few more people, I still don't see her. I go to the parking lot and I'm like, wow. I said, she must have seen me or something and went into hiding. I don't know what's going on. So I kind of got a little mad. I'm going to tell you, Elder. I kind of got a little upset. I was really disappointed because I was like, I didn't see her, whatever. And I'm not going to be acting like I'm desperate and just reach out to her. We just missed the opportunity. And so I'm just going to go. She didn't reach out to me. I kept checking my phone. And so finally, right before I got in the car, I said, well, something just said, just give it one more shot and just reach out to her. And so I sent a message to her on Facebook Messenger. And I was like, hey, I'm here. I didn't see you. And I think that's all that I said.
Yeah, no, you said like, did you leave or something like that?
Oh, I guess I asked if she had left, because I was really gonna go off if she did. No, I'm just playing. So I wasn't gonna wait too long, because I didn't know if she was with her little friends and in the car watching me look like a fool, trying to. So I was like, I'm not fixing to, be here like this. And so right when I was about to get in the car, you sent me a message and you told me that you were still in the sanctuary. And so I decided, I said, well, I'll come back in. So I went back in and went in the sanctuary. She was with all her girls. And, I was like, that's not going to intimidate me. I'm about to go over here, so yeah. So I said, all the ladies were there, and I was like, hey, I'm about to go into the lion's den. Just call me David. I'm about to There you. I done got it wrong.
You Reginald Middleton.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going right up, and I'm just gonna talk, and we're gonna be. I know I'm gonna be critiqued by everybody, all the ladies and everything, but we gonna do this thing. I'm feeling good. I got my good suit on, got my best on. We gonna make it happen. So
yeah, he came up and he made a joke, and all I saw was 6'8", and I was like, okay, we're sold. 6'8". He made
D1 kids, right? D1.
Right, there we go. I was like, say no more. But he made a really great first impression. And at that point, it was like almost instant. I was like, okay, yeah, this is the way that he presented it online was completely different from in person. And so I was like, okay, this can work. And then afterwards, he texted and almost messed it up, talking about, and I have the message right here.
What?
Message.
Got receipts, man.
Right, there we go. He said, I think I need a do-over because I instantly became nervous and I don't know exactly what came out of my mouth. Forgive me. Like, who does that?
Sweet.
Who does that? And so then I said, no, it was a pleasure to meet you. And then the rest is history.
She wouldn't stop calling me after that.
Yeah, right.
So the rest was history. You saw that 6'8", and you thought D1 kids. Mama need a new pair of shoes.
Right.
Yeah. What did your friends say? I mean,
they unlike what you thought, they had never heard of you. So the ones from Mississippi. So
wow.
Yeah. Well, which was a good thing because I was like trying to get information about him. Like, does anyone know? And then they're like, I've never, I don't really haven't heard anything bad or good. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. He doesn't have a bad reputation.
So then I have a question. So was it the angels or God's actual voice that told you to listen up and look up?
Who's that? Him?
Me?
Nah, it's just Erica. When you met him, that God said, listen, this is the one.
I don't know about all that because there were some doubts that came later.
Yes. Oh man.
So my next question is, who was more outspoken in the beginning of y'all's relationship during that dating process, and versus who is more outspoken now? And let's talk about that being outspoken.
I think both of us maybe. Kind of equal.
We have pretty strong personalities. And I think we complement each other. I think we give, we yield to each other's, strong personalities. Because I'm very outspoken when it comes to, I don't think that I meet a stranger, I can pretty much adapt to any, environment or whatever. But she's the same way.
And I will say though, like, with each other, I probably speak out a lot more about just my feelings and stuff, like expressing myself, to other people and in public. I would say it's very close, but he kind of beats me by a little bit because he's willing to like be up in front of people. That doesn't intimidate him or anything like that. Whereas I'm, I guess, outspoken, but on like a one-on-one, like individual type of interaction basis. I'm not like outspoken to the point of like, let me get up in front of this crowd of people and speak my mind or anything like that. But in a conversation, I'm not shy necessarily. But him, it's like either way. I feel like in front of people, one-on-one, you're gonna get the same type of energy. So like you said, I think we kind of complement each other, and it just happened by chance, by the grace of God that way.
And the thing that I like about you two, and just in dealing with being outspoken, is the mutual respect that I can see, because there's not. Sometimes when you talk to people, when you see the couple, you see one trying to overpower the other or say more or do more, versus with you guys, I'm looking at you, and as I'm watching you, I see how respectful you are of each other and acknowledging each other. And I think that has a lot to play even in that outspokenness, because I know listen to you preach online, Elder, and it doesn't shock me that you're not outgoing. So that is some good stuff. So, but if you could also, Elder, elaborate a little bit more on the outspokenness from the ministerial standpoint and how you've learned to kind of bring that back. And if you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always, I was born in the church. I was already, accepted in the church before I was, entered into the world. My grandfather, been a pastor, we were always in the forefront. Whole family, uncles and aunts, all singers, musicians. So we were always just, out there. So it didn't take long for me to lose any shyness. I don't even remember shyness. Growing up, it was always I don't know. It's just kind of strange. It was always the more the merrier. Not trying to be a big shot or anything like that, but I am more comfortable even with preaching to larger crowds than, I'm just more comfortable. And that's not me saying that I don't preach to, whatever the Lord does. I don't care how many are there, I'm going to do what, God would have me to do. But I've just never been, in a place where I was just, where I was just shy. Now, don't get it twisted. That night that I approached her, I was a nervous wreck. Because I didn't want to mess anything up. I didn't want to say anything that was kind of like, I don't know, awkward or make anything awkward. Yeah. And so she is a master when it comes down to one-to-one interaction. I could sit back and just look at her. I can remember we were in DC at a time, and she was presenting for a group of scholars. And at the end of her presentation, individuals were just coming to her and just talking with her. And I actually kind of took pictures of it in a video because I was just amazed at how she just flowed with the group, with those individuals. And she was very in tune, and she was speaking and everything. And me, I'm more so, I can sometimes become kind of quiet, just one-to-one with just a few people. And I'm more out in the center, big crowd, and she freezes up in front of a big crowd. And she freezes up.
Wow.
But I think that being raised the way that I was, I think that it has given me the opportunity to be on different platforms. And before, I just put this in there, before I did it alone. I preached for churches, and my support group were the ones that were probably family that traveled with me, my sister, or people tell me now that my grandmother, who is now deceased, she was my biggest cheerleader. You can see on some videos where she's just pushing, and she was very, very concerned about me having a wife. And a year after we got married, that's when my grandmother, transitioned. And I think she was satisfied that Erica was now, I think she passed the baton to Erica. And now when I look out, it's a refreshing thing when I'm preaching or whatever, and I see my wife there, and she's pushing me on, or it doesn't get the rocking until I see her stand up, and when I see that, it's like, okay, it's time to take it on in.
Elder, when you mentioned that, the thought that came to mind is that there's a couple things. One is, I like how you said you were nervous, because it kind of gives guys the okay to be. It's okay to be nervous, because when you're approaching a woman who's of Sister Middleton's caliber, you're going to be a little nervous.
Absolutely.
Especially when you know she's serious about serving the Lord.
Absolutely. And you said it. You said it. You said it. That year that she did not respond to me gave me a lot of time to not stalk her, but just to watch her spirit. I knew that she was serious about the Lord. Just in the things that she did and the responses that she would, in places that she would go. I knew that she was very cultured, but I knew that was something about her direction. I didn't know who her parents were at the time, but this was one that I knew. I felt really confident that she had a great zeal and a great, she was just motivated. She was happy about living for Christ. And even after I met her, the funny thing is, and I laugh about the elder Middleton or whatever, but sometimes you're put in a place where people just applaud your gift. They embrace your gift and they kind of put you up there, whatever. Well, Sister Middleton, she didn't care nothing about that. She didn't care. Once she did get around individuals that knew, oh, he's a great preacher, she had to know for herself, are you really saved? It was no playing around with that. There are some times where I felt a little bit, nobody has ever questioned me like this about my salvation, but she watched me. It wasn't about, and I guess we can kind of get into that. My churchy self, the first time that we really kind of got, I guess it was me asking her out on a date. I was preaching a revival and I invited her to the revival. I invited her to the revival and she accepted. She came with another friend and they were there for what, 2 nights, 3 nights maybe. And it was in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. And she was there, and I was like, well, if I don't have her, Lord, just use me. So that she didn't care nothing about that. She didn't care nothing about the preaching, the style. She was looking at the life that I live, behind the preaching. What was I like, away from the pulpit? And she keeps, even to this 3 years later, she keeps me on my toes now. She's like, making sure that that I'm really serious about the Lord. Yeah.
And Sister Middleton, it's I hope this gives confidence to the ladies that when you have a true man of God, he won't fear you holding his feet to the fire.
Right.
Would you say that there?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because there was, it's not something that I take lightly. Marriage is a decision that no one should take lightly. And so I was willing to do whatever, even if it meant, us not working out, just to make sure that we were both in the will of God, and that, like, being genuine is something that's really important to me, and not hypocritical, because I grew up in a household that was not hypocritical, and that was like how they were at church was exactly how they were at home. It's like the church followed us right at home, all the rules, everything. So I was like, okay, well, this is the only thing I know. I don't know how to function in that type of dynamic where you're putting on kind of this mask and presenting it one way to the world or the church, and then another way at home. And so that was kind of one of my priority areas, was just making sure that there was consistency across the board. So,
you said something that stuck up before we move on to our other questions that I wanted to bring out was, and I think that's important, especially the way you phrased it. You said, I don't know how to function in that dynamic where we act one way at church and another way at home. And I think that speaks volumes to you, how your parents raised you.
Right.
And that's there. I think that speaks massive volumes.
Yeah.
That they raised you in such a way you don't know how to be fake.
Right. Right.
To be
Right.
fake would be being fake.
Yeah.
Right.
That is some good stuff. And I think we'll go probably come back around to this here because there's a lot to unpack in that.
Yeah.
Um
And I want to add real quick. You know, one thing that was different about her is that even with those things, and like what she said, you know, you have to be real. A lot of times females would, you know, just, oh, he go to church, he prays, he knows how to dance, you know, in church, he shouts, you know, he plays the music, you know, and that just, okay, he's safe, he's secure. But some of the biggest problems that we have in the church are individuals, and I'm sorry to put this out there, but men who are able to look, you know, the part of holiness, but then there's something else. You know, they don't know how to treat, you know, a woman. You know, but she went against that. She, you know, and some say, because the church always tells you, you know, find you a man who's holy, find you a man who's in the church, you know. But most of the problems don't, you know, they come by the person sitting in the pews, not the person sitting in the club, you know. You know, there's a lot of problems that come. And so I honored and respect. It was hard because she, like I said, she held me accountable, you know, but I respected her for that because she wasn't playing any games, you know, and I know even to this day, if you're not about God, then you're not about me, you know, that's her thing. And so she was willing, as she said before, she was willing to lose the relationship, you know, before she lost her relationship with Christ. You know, she was willing. So that was, you know, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Wow. So hold put a pin in that. We're gonna come back around to that. But next question I have is: if you guys been married, how many kids do you guys want? Or do y'all, or even better than that, do y'all agree on the number of kids y'all want?
No, no, we don't. I came with the you know, just the American dream type of thing. 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Let's rock it with 2 kids, boy and a girl. You know, maybe if the Lord would bless, if we had twins, and then we'll be good. You know, if the twins are, we may go with 3. If the twins are 2 girls, and I just want my boy, you know, maybe we'll have 3. But in a later conversation, after we got married, right?
Well, I don't know if we even really talked. Like we probably mentioned it, but it wasn't like, I guess, super high on the list of topics. But I will say that initially, like, I wanted as many children as possible. But with each year that goes on, I think that number decreases. Yeah. Because it's rough. So we're even like, at this point, I think we're open to whatever God allows. I would love, like, in a perfect world, I would love to have just tons of children. Realistically, I don't know if that would be the case. So we'll just see. We'll see what God does.
But what number did you tell me?
I think I said 10. I think I said, yeah.
Go ahead with, hey, Elder.
But, you know, realistically, yeah.
You got many arrows in your quiver, huh? Hey, Elder, she looking at a D1 first string and a D1
Absolutely, a whole army, a whole team, man. We about to take the championship, man. I'm telling you.
No, but we do have conversations about now, like, the state of the world and just like society, and so we're like, is that? I don't know. I guess my desires have kind of shifted a little bit just because of the world we live in. And so now I'm just like, so we'll go back and forth sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm grateful I don't have children. Like I'll say that some days. And then other days it's like, okay, well, when am I going to, let's try to start thinking about having children. So it kind of goes back and forth, and I think we'll be happy either way. Yeah.
When you mentioned that the world we live in, the scripture that keeps ringing loud in my head is "Woe to them that give suck."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And and we know it's not going to get any better.
Exactly.
That's right.
We can pray for God for the scripture holds true. It's not going to get any better.
Right.
And so I can totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I say, man, 10 kids.
10.
Wait.
That's just wishful thinking.
You might have to have 5 jobs, brother.
I'm telling you. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, to make money and also just to stay away. Yeah.
All right. And kind of circling back to a conversation we were having before, because it was a great conversation. I want to ask you, who was your pastor when you were both growing up? I know you guys came from separate areas of the country, but if you can kind of talk about the role that the pastor played in your life that helped bring you to this point.
Yeah.
Want to go first?
Oh, sure. So I guess I was born into a church that was independent in California. It was the same church that my grandparents attended, my parents attended, got married in and met. And then we were born into that church. The pastor was Bishop Robinson, Vernon Robinson. And we transitioned though to another church around the time that my sister and I started became in elementary school around that time. And so I would say that there were a lot of similarities between the churches, a lot of parallels. First, the second church that we went to was under the leadership of Pastor David Alvarez, which was a UPC church. So we went from an independent church to a UPC church. And yeah, there are parallels, but then there are also some major differences, of course, as you can imagine. The first church was all Black. The second church was multicultural. And so both pastors were really strong and are really strong in the faith, in the doctrine. So that was something that was pushed and emphasized a lot. So like the doctrine, another thing, they really were just like all the values and stuff that my parents have held on to, they basically got from their pastors and then passed down to us. So just apostolic 100%. There was a lot in the second church that we attended, the UPC church. There was more of an emphasis on like youth and like how to enjoy. Like I think they wanted to build a sense of like appreciation and excitement and enjoyment for church. And so that's where like all the camps and stuff like that came in, and youth events and all these different things like that. And that's where I think I started to really fall in love with church as the experience. So it's like, yeah, my foundation was set as a child being born into that church, but then my own personal appreciation was built through like fellowship and things like that at the second phase. And then we had some other experiences over the course of our lives, but ultimately, when I left for college, I basically took with me the teachings and the experiences from the UPC church. There were other local pastors who kind of poured into us as well, who we spent some time with, and that helped out too. But yeah, I think I got my foundation again from kind of a combination of those different places. So,
okay. And Elder, how did it work for you?
Well, my pastor was my grandfather, Bishop Jonathan Tate Sr. I was his first grandson, oldest grandson, and we couldn't do nothing. He was strictly apostolic. Grew up in it. He had been in the apostolic church since he was a little boy. My grandmother was in the Holiness Church as well. And we were just that traditional Southern Pentecostal apostolic church. There were restrictions There were things that we could not do. Um, particularly as tall as I am. For those who don't know, as my wife said, 6'8". It would be definitely, you going straight to the NBA. No, with my grandfather and my family, I was going to heaven. You playing for the team Jesus. You just, so there were certain things, just the old traditional church we were not able to do. I was church was just in my blood. And my parents were there. My dad became an elder. He was first a deacon, and then he became an elder in the church. Mom, of course, my grandparents were my mother's parents. And so, it was church Tuesday night service. Matter of fact, we were on our knees, tearing, calling on Jesus to get the Holy Ghost. One time I thought I had it because the music was just right, and I got in the spirit and stuff. I thought I had it, and and so I was just all happy and everything. So the next time we had a service to receive the Holy Ghost, seeking for the Holy Ghost, I didn't go up there to seek for the Holy Ghost. And so my dad said, "You went on the altar tonight." He said, "You think you got the Holy Ghost?" I said, "Well, I did. I felt pretty good. But boy, you ain't got no Holy Ghost." So it was that type, Tuesday night Terry service, Thursday night service, Sunday and Sunday night. We were in church, man. Sometimes Friday night we used to have whole week revivals, Monday through Friday. I had to go to school. Tired, but just excited about church, As a matter of fact, that was one way I didn't get many whoopings because my mother used to use church as a punishment, You ain't going to church tonight. And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." I love church, man. I love church. And we went to the conventions, went to other churches, used to love, I was just always inspired by my grandfather, who was a leader and we would travel to other churches, and he would preach. I saw my dad. Some people, they say, their dad was not there. He was absent from their lives and everything. And, I sympathize with those individuals, but it's almost like I didn't have a father either, because dad was always doing something in the church. Mm-hmm. I don't remember us going fishing. I don't remember us, just having that typical father-son type of thing. He loved me. I knew that, but church came first, man. It was, he would get off his job and if my grandfather would call and we gotta do this, he was there. He was there to support the church. So when I got of age, I graduated pretty much at the top of my class. I went to college, but I stayed home to go to college. I obtained my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and even my specialist degree. But I was pretty much still around home. I developed a love and loyalty to my grandfather. And I, drove him and my grandmother everywhere that they had to go to preach for the ministry and everything like that. And so that was just my life. So my wife is telling me to watch the time. Y'all don't see that.
The question was, who is your pastor?
I'm trying to tell her what, and she's over here, doing like this right here. I'm getting all sentimental and stuff.
Well, you said, Elder, she keeps you in line and holds your feet to the fire.
Absolutely. So when you were talking about it, I can see in your face that you have a lot of respect for her. You yield to her. You don't see her kicking me under.
Elder, I'm gonna tell you, my wife do the same thing to me. She'll look at me and she'll be like,
Right.
And the thing is, when she make those faces, she can do it with a smile. And everybody, oh, she love him. No, what she telling me is shut up.
That's right. Absolutely. She does it in the church too. You know, I'm trying to preach. And I'll tell you, Lord have mercy. A blessing and a curse. It's a blessing.
My wife asked me one time, she said, "What'd you preach?" I said, "Don't be like Roseanne." She looked at me.
That's good. Oh my God.
Yes. But I tell you, if you can't laugh about it and you can't laugh, you really shouldn't do it. Which brings me to my next question, which is, who is more romantic?
I think he is. He really is. And it depends on the day and the time, but I would say for the majority of the time, he probably is.
He probably is.
Would you agree?
Well, I think I think it's only because I'm more spontaneous. Things have to be well thought out and put, there has to be an agenda, for whatever, and it has to be, just a kind of, I guess it has to make sense, for her. But with me, I just like, I find out what she likes. And sometimes she'll be upstairs. She has this big, what is it, a beanie bag? Bean bag. Yeah. This large, super size. And she just loves laying on that and everything. I kind of hate it, but and so it's typically upstairs. So sometimes when she goes and she's getting ready, to retire for bed or whatever, by the time she gets through, I brought the big old beanie downstairs and get a candle or two or something, and then we have a movie night. And she comes down, she's like, "Oh wow," that type of thing, little stuff like that, and.
Yeah, I don't think I guess you make more romantic gestures.
Yeah. And I think we're equally, like, we bounce off each other. I think we're about the same. But with gestures.
Yeah, he does more gestures. I like spending time.
Yeah.
Just literally just sitting and talking for hours. We can do that, and it can be a romantic moment. So yeah,
that's good stuff. Because it just lets people know that it doesn't all the time have to be, I'm giving them this gift or that gift. Sometimes just doing something and taking that time out to let them know that they're special.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So that's good stuff. So that brings me to my next question: is what are your because earlier you talked about not losing yourself in that there, but what are your personal hobbies that you continued after the marriage?
Yeah, I would say, and it also is very dependent on like the setting that we're living in, the environment, but whenever I have access to, like, I like learning languages, specifically sign language, American Sign Language. And so that's something that had turned into a hobby when I was actually from high school. And when I moved to DC, I would find communities who were either passionate about ASL or like the deaf community themselves. And I would kind of surround myself with them and like practice and learn and things like that. And then just like go to social events in those types of communities. And there have been on occasion, some occasions where I've been able to introduce him to different groups of people who share either my interest or who are part of that community. And then just like laid back things like watching movies. I think one of our shared hobbies include eating and just food as a whole. So like anything related to food, events, restaurants, like we're there for it. Like, and so like we'll travel for food. Like we watch videos about it. We just food is a very shared passion, passion of ours. And so we tie that into a lot of what we do. Of course, travel. And we like ride. Like I like to ride around in the car just because. And he's like, I don't know if he likes to drive, but he does. So it works out. It works out.
If you ever seen her drive, I like to drive.
That's good. That is, and that's real good that you guys have continued that even after. Elder, do you want to add anything real quick?
No, I think that by the blessings of God, I think that we do have a lot of shared hobbies. And I think that I have new hobbies, if I can say, after being married to her for 3 years, and it kind of triggered, well, not triggered, but it just kind of made me think of some things when she said the environment that we live in. Because there are some things that she kind of introduced me to when I would go, when we would go back to her home, when we would go and visit DC or whatever, things that I really didn't know that I would enjoy until I met her. I just didn't know that this is something that would be enjoyable. Because with me, again, we were in Mississippi. I grew up, I was born and raised in Mississippi. So, and then being, apostolic holiness in Mississippi, whatever, it's just church. It was church. Did you travel? Did you go on vacation? Yeah, we were at a convention, So a lot of things that she kind of introduced to me was like, it was like, wow, this is really amazing. And that's the thing that, we feed off one another, in that aspect. And I'm not afraid to say that there's a new life that she has taught me. And I mean, I wasn't just a country bumpkin, but I don't want the people to think that, oh, she just came to save this life. I had fun, I had a good time, but it's nothing like having someone, to share. And she wanted to share her, her experiences with me, and so it's been great. It's been great. Yeah.
Elder, don't feel bad. My wife calls me a nerd all the time. She said, "You a nerd."
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm cool. I'm here." She said, She said, "You are watching The Flash for the 4th time, and you've already seen every episode."
It's so great, though. The multiverse, all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm watching The Flash, Marvel, all that. I love it.
Of course, absolutely.
She just doesn't understand what cool people do.
She doesn't understand. Yeah, you're right. You're right. She doesn't understand.
Yeah, she understands. Yeah. So, one question I want to ask you real quick, though, as we get ready to bring it to a close, if you could talk real quick about some of the challenges that you face since you've been married, and how did you overcome them?
Should I go first? The first thing that comes to mind is, first of all, I'm a little bit older than Erica. And so, of course, I've been single much longer than she has. When I met her, I lived, in my own space for quite a few years. And so that part, being able to share that space with somebody else was kind of difficult. It was exciting at first, but then, waking up to the same person every
Wait a
day.
minute.
No, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but
hey, when the camera go off, I can't help when the camera go off.
But let me tell you the thing, and I thought that I would really just love, because I was wanting a wife for so long, but Erica is clingy, I'm sorry, you are
Okay.
kind of you can. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
that's fine.
but she is.
I'm gonna share my challenges next.
So it's just and it's nothing wrong with it. I like it. I love it. But because there were so many years that I was by myself, it was like, oh, there you are, and it was really kind of crazy. Real quick, when we did get married, everything was wonderful. The wedding was wonderful, whatever. And we got married during the time we got married in 21, which was like in the COVID era. And so after the wedding, we went on our little honeymoon and everything, and we had fun in the place that we were in. And then one day, Erica said, "I'm just tired. I'm really just tired." And so I was like, "Well, we've done a lot, that the wedding was just crazy, blah blah blah." And that particular day, I think you kind of stayed in bed all
No, that
day.
wasn't until after.
Oh, that was after. Okay. But we were just trying to, but anyway, I started feeling a little weak as well. And this was like the fourth day that we were on our honeymoon. And so I started feeling very, very sick. When she started feeling very, very sick, we looked at each other. We were like, uh-oh, and so our hotel was like in the middle of the city. And that was like this CVS or Walgreens or something that was right down. I struggled to get 3 blocks down there to get some things and bring back. I almost fell out. She was just drained. We struggled to get back on the plane to get back to home. And we took a COVID test, and we both had COVID. We had COVID during the time of our honeymoon. And we had to, and as a result of that, we had to we had to be in the house, together. We could not interact with anybody, and that was about two weeks, or maybe a week.
2 weeks.
Our first
marriage.
2 weeks of marriage.
Wow.
Together. And as you said at the beginning, it is one thing you can be, but you can be deceived, and we really got to know each other in our worst element at that particular time. We almost got a divorce. No, I'm joking. But it was a challenge. That was a challenge. Just being just having someone in your space. Another thing that was a challenge very quickly, and I know, Elder, you would definitely know this, but not only was I single for many years, I was also a preacher for many years before I married my wife. And so every engagement, every choice that I made about what I would travel to preach, it was just me. I would up and go. I, would work all week. And then that Friday night, I would leave and travel 3 hours to go and preach, and sometimes travel back. I would take engagements here, and then I'd be there and blah. And then after getting married, I found out I've got a wife to consider, and it was kind of a challenge trying to understand, okay, I know that I'm called by God to do this, but ultimately God called us to be husbands, So I took off after I got married. I told people, I didn't have this big itinerary or anything like that. But I had enough to where I had to say, okay, I need to learn how to be a husband, because the church only taught me how to be saved, and they just told me I need a saved wife. They didn't tell me how to treat the wife. They didn't tell me how, some of they just said, and they applauded me because I was in the church. I'm praising God, and everybody saying, "Oh, you can't just get any wife. You got to have somebody that's going to support you." You go, but they never told the male how he was supposed to treat the woman. The woman is always told, yeah, you got to do this for him. You got to hit because he's saved, honey. You got to do, but that was never. So the challenge, I looked at it, and I think this is the reason why God had me not to be married for so many years, because I was able to watch others. I was able to watch other marriages and some of the mistakes and different things. And I said, you know what? I said, Lord, and I asked the Lord one time, I said, Lord, why? I mean, where's my wife? I see everybody else is getting married. Where is my wife? And and people were saying, oh, she coming, God's got to get her prepared. The Lord spoke. I really do believe that the Lord spoke to me one time and said, your wife is there, but I'm just getting you ready for her because you ain't ready yet. And so I hope that that I am where I should at least kind of be, as being a husband and being considerate and sensitive to her needs.
That's good stuff.
I will add one more thing to the challenges conversation. That there were challenges. I feel like at this point we've experienced challenges in almost every area that you can imagine, like physically, challenges with sickness and different conditions, and emotionally, socially, we've had challenges. We've had financial challenges, like literally every domain of life. And it's crazy because we've only been married for this short period of time, but we feel like we've been through, decades worth of experiences. And with that, though, I think we've come to the realization that challenges is something that's ongoing. And it's just part of the journey. I think that we didn't go in blindly, though. We were pretty, I think we prayed a lot about this marriage, and that's what got us through.
And we were transparent
with
each other before we got married.
Yeah, absolutely. So
transparent.
When those challenges arose, then, we had our faith to kind of fall back on. And that's what I believe got us through.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. A lot of people don't understand that challenges are going to come no matter who you are or what marriage you have. They're going to come. And you have to be able to pray through them. You have to be able to fast through them and study your Bible. And they come to bring you closer. And just as we're approaching our time, I want to give you both the chance to say something to our viewers of just speak from the heart as to something that what you think that might help them in whatever stage of marriage they're going through. Because even for me, it's coming that you guys have been married for 3 years, but, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the background and the training that you got before you got married in the churches that you were both independently a part of put in you a level of commitment to the marriage that even though you've been faced with, like you said, the COVID on your honeymoon, the financial challenges or whatever it is, it put in a level of commitment to you that you can't let go of the marriage. So if you guys just go ahead and just speak from the heart and just say something to our viewers as we get ready to close out.
Okay. I want to say to the viewers, first of all, don't try to measure your relationship or your marriage with just what you see on social media. Just like it may be surprising to some that we've had challenges. I tell everybody all the time, it may look like we're not putting on a show. We really do love each other. We really do enjoy being together. But some people say, "Oh, y'all doing? Yeah, you're traveling here, you're traveling there." We work. we work there. Those times that we were able to travel, it's good for us because my line of work, her line of work, we miss each other, throughout the day. And that's a challenge as well, because I'm leaving at 5:00 in 5:30 in the morning and not getting back home, until about 7 at night, and so we don't have a whole lot of time to really share with each other. We didn't know that before. We were struggling trying to get time to be with each other and thought that marriage was the answer. Oh, finally we can be with each other all the time, but we still have a life that and then we have church, we have all these things, and you have to, there's something that we're still trying to figure out. I'm an educator, I'm an administrator, high school administrator. She's a college professor. And oh yeah, y'all are doing this, y'all are doing it, but it comes with challenges. And you have to know how to keep the main thing the main thing. You have to trust and yield. You can be the man, but you have to know how to yield to the spiritual intellect of your wife. When the Bible says that she is your helpmeet, that's exactly what she is. She is my helpmeet. She brings awareness to me in things that I'm just totally oblivious to. And I take out time to shut up and listen. You've got to listen. You've got to listen to your wife. It may seem like, well, she's just this, that, blah, blah, blah. But if you learn how to yield and not try to and take attention, give attention to your wife, it's going to make things just right. Last thing that I'll say for those men who are out there, young men who are afraid to get married, or because you don't think that you're where you need to be financially and different things to that effect, let me tell you, get things together as much as you can and be willing to share any financial problems or whatever that you have with the one that you love or that you want to be with. Because once you all are able to get I came with bills. I came with credit card bills out the wazoo. That was just me. And she didn't even have a credit card, because she didn't believe in it. So when we got married, she inherited all of those credit cards and everything. And so finally I had to just say, here's the deal right here. And once I listened to her, here's how we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to do that. She showed me what to do with my little money that I had. And I'm blessed as a result of it. Be transparent. Be transparent. And that's all. We don't have enough time.
I'll just say I echo everything that he said. And also, I do believe that everybody has a very unique story. This is just a small snippet, and like just preview into our lives. But there's just so much more. And I would say that I used to kind of question like the authenticity or the legitimacy of our story because it didn't play out how I've heard other people's stories play out. And I would just say to the viewers to just embrace your own story, your own journey, because God has a path for you that's specifically designed for you, and it's for a reason. And so I'm just trying to learn to take that for what it is and embrace it and own it, because this is a part of who we are, and it's a part of the ministry that God has for us. And I would also say, as he said, keep the main thing the main thing. At the end of the day, as our pastor here was preaching the other day, we want to make heaven our home.
We want to go to
That's
heaven.
The ultimate goal.
We want to go to heaven.
Regardless of all the challenges we face, anything that you could ever encounter or experience in the world, any negative experience is nothing compared, as the scripture says, can't even be compared to the joy, to the glory that will be revealed and that we'll experience. And so I try to keep that in mind on a daily basis. Like, Lord, whatever it is that you have to do in me, that you have to do in us, just don't let us be lost. That's my sincere prayer. And so I think that if you keep that in the forefront of your mind, everything else can kind of line up and fall into place.
As I'm sitting here and listening to it, it's so powerful in what you're saying, and keeping the main thing, and being transparent. I think what happens with a lot of couples is we allow shame to come into our relationships and then control our emotions which dictate our actions,
Mhm.
all because we don't want to be truthful with something that's going on that our spouse can help us with.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And that's something even with my wife and I'm still doing that learning process.
Yeah.
Learning how to just be there. So I want to commend both of you on being able to work through the challenges to be able to enjoy the beautiful marriage that you have now. And I can say this, you're more than likely going to help a lot more people as you go along, just because God is stretching you out so quickly that he needs you to work more in the kingdom. So with that, I want to say to our viewers, thank y'all for joining us on Meet the Middletons with Church Love. We appreciate them for taking time out of their night to speak with us and talk to us about the love of God in their marriage and in their lives. So we thank you. We take care. Y'all have a good night. God bless you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yep.